want you to think about that. Look at what happened from that. See, and this is why this documentary is I'm not calling it a documentary. I'm calling it a mockumentary. That's what I call it.
That's Spinal Tap.
I call it a mockumentary. I feel like this whole thing is mocking me. That's how I feel about it. It's wild. But go ahead.
Was there anything at all that you were watching this documentary that was new information to you?
New?
Yes.
No.
From the history of Puff, him coming up, anything new?
No, there was nothing new for me. There was nothing new for me. The only thing that was new was what was coming forward that had never come forward before. Kurt Burrows finally admitting out loud that he had been essayed by Diddy.
Jaguar Wright just exposed what 50 Cent cut from the Diddy documentary, and it's far darker than anything Netflix showed. She's naming names, leaking footage, and revealing what she claims is 50 Cent's real agenda. While everyone is focused on what made it into Sean Combs' The Reckoning, Jaguar says the most explosive material was left on the cutting room floor. According to her, it wasn't removed because it lacked impact, but because it revealed industry secrets powerful people don't want exposed. In this video, we break down the footage Netflix refused to air, the major names barely mentioned, and the evidence Jaguar is now releasing, details that could change how you see this entire situation.
It don't even sound, I want to put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about you got footage, you got clothing, I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had, you could figure out a way to pay a brother and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received, and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I'm like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff, the first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you're gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and goes out of this documentary.
50 Cent spent nearly 2 years creating this 4-part Netflix series, covering Diddy's life from his childhood in Harlem to the rise of Bad Boy Entertainment, all the way through his arrest and conviction. It's a deep dive into the life of one of hip-hop's biggest moguls. The documentary features never-before-seen footage of Diddy speaking with his lawyers just days before his arrest, interviews with members of his inner circle, and even conversations with jurors from his trial, access you almost never see. But here's the thing, and this part really matters.
Documentary. Yeah, he was there for so much of it. Because right after the diddler beat the crap out of Steve Stout, the Jigga Man poked up Rivera. Not long after that. All of this stuff happened around the same time.
Why do you think Jay-Z wasn't involved in none of this?
Well, I mean, he was involved in a lot of it. You mean, why wasn't he mentioned?
Yeah, mentioned in the documentary at all.
I mean, there was a lot of people that weren't mentioned. Matter of fact, not too many people in the industry were mentioned who were there and present. Isn't that cute?
Very true.
They found a way to tell that story while they kept everybody else clean.
Not everyone who was meant to appear in the documentary made the final cut. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, someone who arguably knows more than almost anyone, was removed after disputes with director Alex Stapleton over payment and creative control. Jaguar Wright's footage, meanwhile, was reportedly labeled too controversial for Netflix. Let that sink in. Too controversial for a documentary about a man convicted on serious charges. So the real question becomes, if this is supposed to be the reckoning, why was so much left out? Why are we only seeing part of the story? That's what we're here to unpack. Jaguar didn't hold back. She openly called the project a mockumentary, saying it mocks the audience's intelligence. According to her, nearly 80% of the information in the 4 episodes is material she's been publicly sharing for years. She even said, "I feel like this whole thing is mocking me." And while you might think she's just upset about being excluded, she insists this isn't about ego, it's about the truth being diluted to protect certain people. And that's where things start to get really interesting.
Who's the worst celebrity like that you've been around is like the most full of sin? I know no sin is greater, but like just was like, damn, this
Clive Davis, devil incarnate. Clive Davis, he Janis Joplin, he blackmailed Betty Wright so she wouldn't tell anybody that he Janis Joplin, he killed Whitney Houston.
Jaguar points out that several major industry figures are barely present in the documentary, some are missing entirely. We're talking about people who were deeply involved from the very beginning. Jay-Z, for example, is mentioned maybe once or twice, and that's it. Stevie J, one of Diddy's longtime producers, is practically erased from the story, despite living at Diddy's Star Island home during key moments referenced in the series. Then there's Clive Davis, who owned 51% of Bad Boy Records' majority ownership, yet in a 4-part documentary, he appears for barely 35 seconds. How does that make any sense?
That was interesting to watch, you don't think? Kalima's testimony? She was probably the most pitiful witness they brought up to speak about all of this in the entire thing. Kalima?
Wait, why you say that? She was emotional. She was...
Emotional? That's what you call it?
That's what I'm trying to call it.
Capricorn Clark was emotional. I'll give her emotional. I'm sitting there looking at someone, in my opinion, who appears to be struggling with a substance issue, trying not to fall apart on camera. Meanwhile, nobody paying attention to the fact that she's sitting there afraid to really say anything at all because she's in the middle of a custody battle.
When Jaguar was asked who the worst celebrity she's ever been around was, she didn't hesitate. She named Clive Davis, calling him the devil incarnate. She went on to claim he was responsible for multiple deaths in the industry, including Janis Joplin and Whitney Houston. Now, I'm not saying those allegations are true, but it is notable that a man with that level of power, and those kinds of accusations surrounding him, gets less than a minute of screen time in a documentary supposedly focused on accountability. According to Jaguar, that's because discussing Clive Davis means exposing the entire power structure behind Bad Boy and how deep it really goes, something certain people don't want examined. And then there's Kim Porter, because this is one part of the story that truly disturbed Jaguar.
What are your thoughts as far as how they portrayed Kim Porter with this Reckoning documentary?
They didn't portray her at all.
Yeah, they didn't.
That's the thing. They didn't portray her at all. She was spoken for by Kalima. That was interesting to watch, you don't think? Kalima's testimony? She was probably the most pitiful witness they brought up to speak about all of this in the entire thing. Kalima?
Wait, why you say that? She was emotional. She was...
Emotional? That's what you call it?
That's what I'm trying to call it.
Capricorn Clark was emotional. I'll give her emotional. I'm sitting there looking at someone, in my opinion, who appears to be struggling with a substance issue, trying not to fall apart on camera. Meanwhile, nobody paying attention to the fact that she's sitting there afraid to really say anything at all because she's in the middle of a custody battle and she's trying to get her kids back. And she's got to be careful of whatever she says because it could make it impossible for her to get her kids back. Did nobody pay attention to that?
Yeah, no, she said she wanted $5K from Diddy.
She wanted $5K from her former bandmate and a billionaire. And he wouldn't even give her $5K to help her get her kids back? Why not? But then again, nobody's talking about who her husband is and who her husband is to Diddy. He's one of Diddy's #1 minions.
Oh yeah, no, that's news.
He's a loyalist. He is a Diddy do-wop bop. Kalina's also bisexual, so I'm finding it kind of interesting that she didn't see anything, she wasn't around anything, she didn't know about anything, and this is not me putting anything crazy on her. This is exactly what she said when she was on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta with Stevie J, who was also not mentioned at all during this documentary. Because Stevie J was living at the Star Island house. Tell me something, how do you have all of that stuff about Little Rod and there's no Stevie J? Now, it was really interesting because there was some of the footage that Little Rod has shared with this documentary that he shared with nobody else that he did an interview with, and none of that made it into the trial. There's images of him with French Montana and the Diddler on the yacht.
Yeah.
But nothing of Stevie J, surgically removed.
Jaguar feels Kim Porter wasn't properly represented in the documentary. Kim, Diddy's children's mother who passed away under mysterious circumstances in 2018, should have been a central figure. Instead, her story was told through others, like Kina Harper, one of Diddy's former artists.
Documentary, they left a whole lot of key things out. If they was going to do something and they're going to say in the reckoning of Sean Combs, the reckoning, or Diddy, the reckoning and stuff like that, it should have been a lot of people that we lost because of him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't only Big, it wasn't only Tupac, you understand? For the atmosphere that he put those kids in. You got a guy named Anthony Wolf Jones, who was from Bad Boy, from its conception as doing security and being one of the financiers of Puff having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde Davis.
Jaguar called Kina Harper's interview pitiful, not because she was lying, but because she was holding back. At the time, Kina was in a custody battle, and anything she said on camera could be used against her. Add to that her husband's ties to Diddy, and it's easy to see why she couldn't tell the full story. She also claimed to see nothing suspicious at Star Island, even though Stevie J, who lived there during key events, isn't mentioned at all in the documentary. Then there's Gene Deal, Diddy's longtime bodyguard, who was supposed to play a major role. 50 Cent even called him to be involved, but after a tense conversation with director Alex Stapleton over payment and creative control, Gene walked away. Given his access and experience, it's easy to see why missing his perspective leaves a huge gap in the story.
You want to know why there is no vindication for me? Because for 4 years, I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. And the victim-making machine kept going on.
Jay-Z has been notable by his silence since these charges were brought against Diddy. Why do you think that is?
Because that's what he does. He starts little fires everywhere, forces everyone involved to go and carry water while he sneaks away. Out a response. That change is now shown.
Remember when Jaguar went on Piers Morgan's show and called...
Gene said the documentary overlooked key tragedies, like the murder of Anthony Wolf Jones, Diddy's former bodyguard and close associate. According to him, the production lacked the intel to tell these stories, but it seems more likely they avoided them to prevent raising questions about powerful people. And that's the bigger picture. This isn't just about what was cut from one documentary.
He had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute, and his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that. He had already been to the hospital, that situation that Gene was talking about. And you still took Bieber there, but you got custody of him first.
Remember when Jaguar went on Piers Morgan's show and called Jay-Z and Diddy monsters on live television? The clip went viral instantly, everyone was talking about it. Then something strange happened. Just 1 day later, the video was gone. Removed. Censored. Think about that for a moment. Piers Morgan is a major media figure with a global audience, yet someone had enough power to make that clip disappear within 24 hours. That tells you everything about the influence these people hold. They can pressure production companies, media outlets, and even platforms like Netflix and 50 Cent's G-Unit Films. No one is immune to that level of control. The next part is uncomfortable, but it needs to be said.
Sin is trying to take down Diddy.
No, he's trying to move Diddy and Jay-Z out the way so he can run it. And the truth is, I ain't mad at him. I just don't trust him. Because the truth is, he would just be another kind of monster in another kind of way. He don't want things to change. He just want to be the one that's running it. See? Easiest thing to do is to take your enemy's feet and hold them to the fire for things you know that they won't admit. Which is why when that C&D came out, he took all of that Diddy shit down because of his tape. Say, what is it with all of these pretenders? And now they got an even bigger one named Curtis Jackson.
Jaguar claims there was footage involving Justin Bieber and Diddy that got cut from the documentary, and when you hear the context, it's disturbing. According to her, Diddy had tried to get close to Bieber for years, but Bieber's management blocked him. Then Usher, who took over management, allegedly gave Diddy temporary guardianship of Justin for 48 hours, even after Bieber had been hospitalized. Jaguar asks the question we're all thinking, does that sound like protection? She believes footage of this exists but was cut, likely to protect major names like Usher and Bieber. And that's why she's so angry. Jaguar doesn't think 50 Cent made this documentary out of the goodness of his heart.
Ever been to a P. Diddy party?
Yeah, several, many, honestly.
And so, can you take us through, like, what goes on, like, when you were there?
Money
Right.
and sex.
Were you surprised that there were so many cameras in his houses?
No!
So let me ask you, when you hear that Cassie was told to hire male escorts to come in what they call freak-offs now,
Yeah.
is that something normal that
Yeah.
happens in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Freak-offs.
Yeah. Everybody know that. I've been saying it.
So why does Puffy, why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time. Like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
Jaguar says 50 Cent isn't making this documentary to help victims or expose the truth. She believes he wants to move Diddy and Jay-Z out of the way so he can control the hip-hop industry himself. In her words, he doesn't want change, he just wants to be the one in charge. That's harsh, but think about it. 50 Cent has been feuding with Diddy for over 20 years, trolling him on social media, making jokes, and now suddenly he's producing a documentary about accountability. Jaguar isn't buying it. She went further, claiming 50 Cent has been allowing toxic waste dumping around his Millennium Studios property in Shreveport for cash. She says she has proof and warned him, better do right by Shreveport, or I'll expose what you've been hiding. Her point is clear, 50 Cent might have his own secrets, and that's part of why Jaguar is so frustrated, and why her criticism cuts deep. Jaguar has been speaking out about Diddy's behavior for years, warning about parties, alleged misconduct, and industry secrets, but people ignored her, calling her clout-chasing or bitter. Now that Diddy has been convicted, everyone acts surprised, but Jaguar says, everybody knew. She argues the industry picks which monsters are exposed and when, and she even claims Jay-Z is next to Jaguar is ready to go further, releasing more names, footage, and evidence that Netflix left out. She says what we saw is just the tip of the iceberg, the real reckoning hasn't even started. From missing key players like Jay-Z, Clive Davis, and allegedly Justin Bieber footage, to her belief that 50 Cent has his own agenda, Jaguar is calling out the full story. What do you think? Does Jaguar have a valid point, or is she going too far? And what about 50 Cent? Was this documentary really about accountability, or something else? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one.